Most followers of Nurgle are granted some level of immunity to the diseases their god bestows upon them. While visible symptoms, such as diarrhea, vomiting, bloating, and even physical rot persist, the lethality and, most importantly, pain associated with these illnesses are negated by the Plague Lord. Instead, infected servants are filled with the profane might of a dark god. Some of Nurgle's children, however, have not received such reprieve from the ill effects of their patron's gaze. Though still blessed by the Plague God, these unfortunate individuals suffer from their infections as surely as their foes. Their fate would be almost pitiful if they hadn't dedicated themselves to the very deity that racks their bodies with such terrible woes. While many failed servants of Nurgle have undoubtedly shared this fate over the millennia, the most legendary among them are the hideous creatures known as Bile Trolls. The origins of Bile Trolls lies deep in the shrouds of history, immortalized within the mythology of northern tribes as half-truths and fables. Supposedly, long before the men of Cathay erected the Great Bastion, a terrible troll known as Rock Stone Shatterer had managed to rally a great tribe of trolls around himself. Stone Shatterer is noted as being exceptionally smart, though if this is by some general metric or simply in comparison to other trolls is unclear. Certainly, the fact that he could organize massive armies of creatures as ungovernable as his kin speaks to a level of animalistic charisma and intelligence that none perhaps Throgg the Troll King could match in the present day. He was also extremely ravenous, even for a troll, and delighted in eating sentient life. Rock had not assembled his warband simply to forage for food or for his own idle amusement, however. The Troll King had plans. He sought nothing less than glory in the eyes of the Dark Gods, and wished to challenge the mortal champions of Chaos for their favor. At first, Rock's crusade against the Warriors of Chaos was immensely successful. No force, no matter how blessed with unholy gifts, could stand against the sheer might of such a monstrous army. Profane armor was crushed beneath the pounding fists of legions of howling trolls, and demons were pulped within their meaty palms. Any damage they sustained was quickly shrugged off or healed in a matter of seconds. The creature's usual stupidity couldn't be exploited against them either, for Stone Shatterer's bellowing commands kept all of his kindred in check. Time and time again, Rock and his army were met with glorious victory on the battlefield. Even the possibility that the army would naturally fall apart as food became scarce was averted, as the warband never stayed still long enough to completely strip a region bare. The constant supply of dead and captured warriors of chaos helped supplement their dietary needs, as the trolls relished in consuming their fallen enemies. Upon such a corrupt diet, the creatures became stronger still, their bodies warping under the mutating power of chaos. It seemed possible, perhaps even likely, that this great troll army would supplant the northern tribesmen as the Dark Gods' greatest champions. Such a fate was not to pass, however. It was after innumerable victories, on the plain of Scorched Bone, that Rock and his kindred finally met their match. There the trolls encountered the plague legion of Golvis Bloatchild, a favored son of Nurgle. Rock and his army had grown fat and arrogant after their triumphs over so many previous Chaos armies, and the Troll King had no reason to believe that this battle would prove to be any different. In a way, he was right. In another, much more serious way, he was not. The battle was fierce and lasted for days, but eventually the trolls did emerge victorious under the howling gales of a great storm. The effort taxed the brutes, however, and they desperately needed sustenance to replenish the energy they expended healing from their wounds. Like countless times before, the trolls fell upon the dead and dying, tearing at their putrid flesh and cracking their bones to get at the marrow within. Unfortunately for the trolls, Golvis was held in exceptionally high regard by Nurgle, and his flesh coursed with unholy plagues. The rotten meat the trolls had just eaten twisted with supernatural diseases of Nurgle's devising, infecting them with the most devastating plagues in the known world, and beyond. It overwhelmed even their monstrous regeneration, and they surely would have died if Nurgle himself hadn't spared them. This was not a gift, however. The Lord of Plagues had kept them alive to suffer. Rather than see the arrogant, ravenous trolls simply fall apart and die, Nurgle forced them to live through a torturous cycle of regeneration and illness, their insides torn apart by an enemy they can never truly vanquish. Rock and his kin became the first Bile Trolls, mutated and twisted into agonizing forms by the disease inside. This living monument to fallen hubris pleased the Plague Lord greatly, and he hummed happily at his cauldron while he watched the trolls sicken and suffer, but never die. Only a few Bile Trolls still exist, confined to the cold mires of northern Troll Country. They are the direct descendants of Rock and his fallen army, born to suffer for a dark god's amusement. Their life is a lonely one, as even other trolls refuse to associate with them. Their normal kin fear these mutated beasts, not wishing to suffer the Bile Troll's terrible fate themselves. In addition to afflicting them with all sorts of hideous maladies, Nurgle's curse has made Bile Trolls slower and clumsier than other trolls. As if that wasn't enough, the ongoing damage done to their body by the disease has hampered their regeneration. While they can still heal from wounds that would kill a similarly sized creature, Bile Trolls are much less likely to recover from said injuries than their uncursed relatives. Of course, just as the Chaos Gods cannot give without taking, they cannot take without giving. While the Bile Trolls are undoubtedly worse off than they would be without Nurgle's affliction, they have gained terrible powers as a result of their misfortune. A horrible miasma of leprous vapors follows them wherever they go, making them hard to hit with both melee and ranged weapons as their foes choke upon the fumes. Their claws leak a noxious disease that acts as a fast-acting venom, ensuring that even a small cut spells doom for the troll's victims. Grandfather Nurgle has even enhanced the trolls' already lethal ability to regurgitate the contents of their stomach on command. While their normal kin's vomit is dangerous enough in its own right, a Bile Troll's vomit is also filled with writhing maggots and their own cancerous entrails. This particularly noxious mixture is where the creatures derive their name, as it is by far their most disgusting weapon. It can reduce ogres and other trolls to a slurry of melted flesh in a matter of seconds. As if all of that wasn't enough, the vomit is so magically charged with Nurgle's plagues that it can even affect ethereal creatures. Bile Trolls aren't currently in Total War Warhammer. When they do make their way into the game, presumably in the Thrones of Decay DLC in the winter of 2023, they'll probably be a lot like other trolls. High AP weapon strength, regeneration, low leadership. These are the marks of a troll. On top of all that, Bile Trolls will probably also have poison and magical attacks to represent their magical bile, and the Mark of Nurgle ability to represent Nurgle's curse. They'll hopefully have lower regeneration than normal trolls to represent their overtaxed healing factor, but that's not a guarantee. Besides that, if CA wants to make them feel more unique than a slight reskin, they could also have a breath weapon attack, like a Hydra. That would really lean into their vomit ability, but Bile Trolls are already named for it, so why not? They'd be like a one-time Iron Drake unit for the Warriors of Chaos and Nurgle. With that, we have come to the end of our overview of Bile Trolls. They're pretty cool, as I love a monster that has a short, compelling backstory to them besides, and then chaos appeared. It's some great stuff, and something I really wish happened more in Warhammer lore, especially if you can tie their origin to a single character rather than just a generalized race. It feels like there's some real untapped potential in ancient warlords or well-intentioned wizards accidentally creating some new horror for the world to face, especially if it's not necessarily chaos creatures. Give me something that's made from too much high magic that hunts the impure, or something like that. Anyways, if this stuff interested you, you can leave a token of your favorite by liking the video. I think that helps the algorithm, though honestly I'm not sure. If you want to keep seeing stuff like it, you can also be alerted whenever I release new videos by subscribing to the channel. I also take suggestions for future videos in these comments, but as some of my long-term watchers know, it can take me a while to get around to those. I promise I'm still working on that Minotaur suggestion, and the Temple of Luminar suggestion. There's a few of them. Finally, I've got a Patreon, which I've linked in the description. If you want to toss a few bucks my way so I can keep this up, that is the best way to do it. Also, if you pay $5 a month, you can get early access to my longer format videos several months in advance. I try to put one of those out every 2 months or so before releasing them all at the end of the year in December, but if that appeals to you, do check it out. That's all the selling out I have to do for the moment though, so until next time, this has been Sigmar's Chosen, signing off for now.